Well, hello everyone. It's DBJ, Tips and Tricks Tuesday, and for someone who, like myself, who gets stuck with coming with an idea, I thought I would do this live stream to discuss with all of you great creators out there when you just have no idea what to come up with. You don't have a story, you don't have a goal. You're in this mental feedback loop that just brings you right back to where you started, and you're like, man, I don't have any creative energy. I'm tired. I'm stressed out. I don't have anything for this game. What am I going to do? So, this tip and trick is for um, how do you properly steal an idea? And the best place to steal those ideas are from your players, whether it's from their backstory or during the game. So oftentimes, players will come to you with a backstory. Sometimes it's only like 3 lines. Other times it's 30 pages. But whatever the case may be, mine all of that for your setting, for the current game you're about to run. Mine it for ideas for rivals and adversaries, factions, um, political maneuverings, assassins, creatures, magic items, um, all kinds of things, mobsters and killers and all those kind of things. Mine your players' backstories. And I think sometimes we creators, world creators in general, tend to hold on to our darlings. And something in the movie industry is known as killing your darlings, which basically means you've created this great story, you love it, you hold it dearly, but you got to edit it. So one of the ways to do that, and very sorry for yawning. One of the ways to do that is to grasp something from each character's backstory and just flavor it into your world. So if you've got ogres and a person has a rival, let one of the ogres be a rival, and maybe even mention that person's by name, like, hey, aren't you the son of the Duke of Borchester or something? My, my faction leader told me about you and your sword skill. Let's put it to the test, or something like that. I'm just off the top of the dome. So many ways, by flavoring factions. Let's say a character is an assassin or some kind of ninja or shadowy figure. Put that faction in the game. If someone has a lost loved one, a rival in their world, put it in the game. If someone has come up with an idea to solve a situation you hadn't thought of, but solving that situation actually makes better sense than the story you came up with, give it to them. And it's not a matter of it's not really a matter of making things easy. The idea is that if your players are value added, then give them the benefit of the doubt. So for example, let's say you have a trap and the room's being flooded and the door is locked and there's no way out, and one of the player characters is like, the door may be locked, but is the wall thin or something, or the frame around the door thin? And you're like, I don't know. And they're like, well, my dwarf's going to try to figure out the weak spot in the room, and then we're going to, the barbarian and myself are going to use our hammers to try to break away the wall, to make it flood into the hallway on the other side. And maybe your game master, you're like, I was hoping they would find the key, but that's actually a good idea. So just give it to them. Steal the idea. Now, there are many other places to steal ideas from. And of course, I'm using the word steal because unless you're trying to make money off of this and benefit from somebody else's creation. If you're just playing a game, it's not really theft. You're just using it as a creative spark. Um, Many plots from television shows, movies, books, you can absolutely use them. Change the names, change the figures, change the genders, change the monsters. You're cool. You can always use a medieval plot and use it in a far future. Same as using a sci-fi plot. Excuse me, bring it into the past. And of course, I'm being a little bit unnerving, maybe disrespectful, because I am a little bit tired um, after having a long weekend and Memorial Day in the States. But I came to this point because I was like, man, I don't really know what to. I had some good ideas, but I don't know if they're that good. So let's talk about coming up with ideas when you're stuck for having an idea. Also, look around your environment. Me being the self-appointed third pillarist, I love using the environment. So the weather can have a great impact. Here in Central Ohio, we're having a, not really a heat wave, but exceptionally high temperatures. What's up, Prue? Good morning there, sir or lady. Um, so we're having exceptionally high temperatures, and so you can use that as maybe a precursor for something that's going to happen later on. Maybe there's an incursion from another world, something like that. Yeah, today I'm just talking about like when you're really stuck for ideas. You just have no idea. You don't know what to do about running a game. Maybe you're writing something and you're stuck with writing. There was something Hugh Jackman, um, ladies probably the closest. Okay. I mean, I just wanted to, I don't want to be rude, and someone's iconic image may not be representative of who they are. I don't, it doesn't bother me who you are, whatever. I just want to reference people correctly, or at least not offensively. But anyway, um, the Hugh Jackman was on like, oh, I guess it was the actor's studio or something like that, and he was doing a scene for Les Mis, and he had to come up with this extremely emotional response, and he could not come up with a response. So he fed into his own, he used the energy he had by not having any energy to do the scene. And he allowed the pressure that was on him, because if he couldn't do the scene, you've got camera people and sound people and the director, and there's 35 people around there, him waiting for him to perform. So he used that stress, that performance stress, to fuel him, to get him nervous, to get him upset, to realize that if he didn't perform, these people would, he would be embarrassed. These people would not be paid for their job. This movie would fail. Their careers are counting on him being at his best. And so he used that. And during his interview, he was starting to like tear up. He was starting to cry. He was starting to, you could even see his face was starting to change. It was hard for his breathing was getting labored. And it was a clinic on acting. And what he was doing was he didn't have any energy, and he reached around him to find out where that energy was. So an idea to steal when you don't have an idea is to basically say like, wow, I really don't have an idea. So what would happen in this world? The player characters think they're going to engage in something, and it's exceptionally calm. There are no enemies. There are no adversaries coming after them. Yeah, thanks, Prue. Yeah, I appreciate the company, because oftentimes I speak into the ether, and I'm just like, is anyone hearing me? And not that it matters, but it's just like it's funny, because sometimes I know I'll say or do things that are bizarre, and I'm like, man, I think somebody probably took this the wrong way. But anyway, reaching for those ideas. One of the best places to get an idea is the local news. Turn on a news station, look at something depressing and bizarre, and use that in your game. There's always something new on the news. You get on your phone and find a feed. Get on your social media, and you can always find something to reskin. You can always take a politician and turn them into some kind of weird humanoid. You could always take some person's agenda. You can always take a news story where there's some violence happened, reskin it into a faction or something like that, and then turn that into an idea to shape into your game. And oftentimes what will happen is all you really need is a spark. And whether you're playing online or at your table or your friendly local gaming store, sometimes all you really need is just the intro, and the players will start to speak. Hopefully they will speak up and share their ideas, and then you as the game master just steal from them. So an example would be, take a classic, we're all walking down the road or riding our horses and bandits come out of the woodworks, right? It's a real simple attacked by bandits on the road idea. So sure, it could be simple, but if one of the players is thinking, oh man, I bet we were set up from that last game. You know, they're going to try to steal my, father's ancient sword, or the wizard's like, we need to keep, my spell book sacred. There's notes in it that reveal ancient secrets or something like that. Anything that the players can come up with, even if they're joking around, and then use that as fuel to create other ideas, and just add them on. Tim Kearney from Absolute Tabletop, he always suggested having like a Google Doc where you just write down random ideas, and then leaving those better ideas. You can return to it after you've forgotten it, and then mine that. Yeah, Prue says Barker from Be a Better Game Master had a couple exercise videos on sparking creativity a year or two ago, and they're very good. Yeah, they're very good. The guys at Absolute Tabletop are very good at sharing their creative process, which is a hard thing to do because often codifying your creative process can be a difficult thing. I know it is for me. And so actually doing these like live streams and such is in many ways is a test for myself to codify what I do and how I do it. And eventually I hope to, be on that level, but who knows? Yeah, having the ability to like inwardly know you have the problem, then outwardly use an exercise to cultivate getting out of that problem is kind of a strange thing. It's like being in your brain and outside your brain at the same time, and that can be kind of difficult. For myself, like I tend to write in short spurts very often, and my writing tends to be sporadic. So 3 paragraphs might have a different tone than another 4 paragraphs, which might have a different tone than a full page of a document, which might have a different tone than a single line that I write. And then I have to go back and commingle what I've written. But eventually I've come to realize that by commingling how I'm writing, it actually is a consistent tone, if that makes sense, right? Hard to describe, but yes, another place to get a lot of great ideas is to look at the minutia of monotony. You know, I'm a wage slave. I go to work, got my my government job, go to work, do my thing, come home tired, exhausted, and a lot of times the day just passes over me. But working outside, I'm allowed to be in my own thoughts, and it allows me to have creative sparks. My problem is being able to put it down. Prue says, sometime I like to go to another DM that I like, and we could switch and read the other players' backstories and plant hooks and such. I think that could be a fun exchange. And that I'll admit that I use Facebook and social media to kind of do that, to like mine other people for their ideas. And sometimes it's not a direct like, hey, I'm going to steal their idea for their national banner or something like that. It's not really that. It's more like hearing and listening to other people's creative process and then being influenced by that, which is why sometimes like as a letter carrier, I'll download on my phone from a YouTube or podcasts, very long exchanges when people play games or they're interviewing someone or they're talking about their creativity, right? Yeah, Prue Prue says absolutely. And I'm a complete agreement where when I hear other people being creative, their creativity can spark something in me that I hadn't thought of. Okay, for example, the guys at Role Playing Public Radio, RPPR podcast. I'll listen to their podcasts, even if I'm not particularly interested in what their subject matter is, but I like how they go about deciphering the subject matter they talk about. And so then that sparks, hey, Kitty, that sparks in me, like they're talking about the process of creating red markets, which is about like, the economic downfall of society with zombies and how they've codified and made a mechanical gaming statistics based on economics and such. And it's just like, that can be kind of boring. But then when you hear them talk about it, I'm like, oh man, I could steal that I could really steal that idea. That's awesome. And so that's why I love being on the Absolute Tabletop Facebook group. So many people have come up with ideas. Caius is a guy, Jeremy Lilly, Jonathan Miles. There's so many of these people who are just like, hey, how did you think about farming? Or you ever thought about where, magic comes from, or knighthoods, or any of a million possibilities? And they'll throw these little sparks out there, these little things to ruminate on. And then that just gets the creative process rolling again and again. I think one of the hardest things too is to have plenty of time and no creativity, or too much creativity and no time to express it. I think those things are absolutely like incongruous with each other and like really piss people off. I know it pisses me off. If I tend to have a scrapbook around me, and I write all the notes. Yeah, Prue Prue says those guys are powerhouses. I don't know how they do it. But in a way, just because there's four of them, right? And sometimes conflict, I think they've been able to harness their conflict. I know that when I have an idea and Alex and Rob, the guys that I write with, don't see my vision, their conflict forces me to reassess what it is that I'm thinking of. And then that pushes it. Oftentimes, people feel comfortable in what's known as an echo chamber, which is like, people repeating back to them the same things that they agree with, the same things they like, the same things they're into. But if you can have a great interaction with someone who doesn't agree with everything you say or create, or someone who doesn't have your exact same vision, but you're still able to communicate and have a friendship, have a dynamic, a back and forth, those people will really spark you to push yourself, to accept things. And oftentimes, sometimes we creators will draw a line in the sand. Oh, I don't ever want this in my game, right? If you're playing medieval fantasy, I don't ever want Dragonborn or Dark Elves in my world. I hate those things. And you draw a big line in the sand, and then someone else comes up to you with this great idea that involves them, and you go, man, maybe I should rethink it. Maybe I should, even if I don't want those races in my fantasy world, maybe there's something to do with an ancient race that lives in the Underdark, or maybe I can just steal the idea of violent houses overthrowing each other, and if they win, that house's name is stricken from history. But if they lose, they're enslaved by the rival house or something like that. And you could Game of Thrones and Dark Elves are very similar, right? In their machinations, their political maneuverings with each other. One idea can be stolen and twisted and taken and used by another idea very easily if you're allowed to look at the other person's point of view openly and take that energy. It's very difficult to find someone you get along with and disagree with at the same time. It seems that in our, especially here in the States, our we seem to be measuring our loves by all the things we hate, and I think that's a disservice to having open and honest discourse, whether it's with politics or the things you love. I mean, so many people are like, ruin friendships over dumb things like movies and books and comic books and things like, oh, I can't believe you love this, or I can't believe you hate this, you're stupid. And it's like, really? That doesn't, like, why would you hate someone over something creative? It's like looking at a painting. Everyone sees something different in a creative source, and you can talk about those differences. Like, for example, probably heard on the audio is my kitty, who loves to loves her little head rubbies and such. And hey, kitty, hi, yeah, she can. She's actually causing me to have a little spark of inspiration right now. Like, I think I did a Monster Monday video about creatures and their desires to be around people, and that could be a good thing. Maybe there are, um, maybe there's an innocuous animal or pet or something in a space station or a castle or something, and um, they could be cats or rats or birds or something like that, and they could all be agents for some um, dark enterprise spying on people and using those agents to gather as much information as they can. Maybe an old hag is using small songbirds that sing and are very colorful and selling them to people. And the old hag looks like just an innocent little child selling them on the road, and everyone buys them and puts them in their homes. And then the hag is able to use those use blackmail to get what she wants, to force the royal families, the nobles, to hand over documents or gold or important um, loyal knights who are forced to work for the hag to perform particular actions in the hag's best interest against her rivals, who also might be evil. Anyway, not going to be on here too long. I do understand that doing live streams in and of itself requires a little bit of length in time, just to see if people want to join in or something like that. And also, doing a live stream is forcing me to basically try to push my creative envelope. So, thank you, Prue Prue. Thank you, everyone, for engaging. And actually, there's something. I'll do this on a different video, because that this is going to be a little bit racy and could offend people. But I really want to find out how and if role-playing games, from my point of view and everyone else's point of view, are being inclusive, how they are being inclusive. Are people using inclusive techniques, role-playing aids and things, whether it's racially, religiously, socially, using gender, politics, those kind of things, and how are role-playing companies doing it? Is it their responsibility as players? How can we use those things in a creative manner? So yeah, I'll probably do that on another video. I'll have to do that like a special like side thing, because I know it's going to get a ton of hate, but I think there's some positivity I could draw out of it. So anyway, I am DBJ, your self-appointed third pillarist. Not on here too long. One of my shorter videos, what, 25 minutes? Yeah, that's me not rambling at all. So thank you for joining me. Oh, Proo, yes, sounds awesome. I've used your old video racism and RPGs a lot. I'll be there to support. You know, there's okay. Let me be honest with you on a personal subject, so that it's pointed at me and not others. I remember when I was a teenager. I'm heading on my downslide past 40 into my 50s, right? I'm 47 years old, so I've been role playing well over 30 years. And I remember when I was a teenager, probably preteen, maybe, playing in Dungeons and Dragons. I think it was second edition, and I arrived at a game to play, and I drew a picture of my character. And the character was, a black guy. He was big and burly. He had cornrows, braids in his hair, his back. And I think I traced a picture of someone. And I remember someone saying, and at the time, I'm sure it was quite innocent, but a little bit naive, and said, well, black people don't exist in this world. And it made me think, because in Tolkien, they don't exist, right? I mean, you don't really think of them. When you hear of medieval, primarily Middle European ancient society, they didn't exist. And when you layer fantasy over it, you're like, well, maybe not. And then you think, so at the time I was just a little bit thrown back. I was like, well, okay. And I went back home and was like, well, wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. Ogres don't exist and dark elves don't exist either. Why would a race matter, right? And then you expand that out and you're like, why does gender matter in a fantasy game? And then why would my gender, as a player, or the character matter in your fantasy setting when literally none of it has any game effects whatsoever? And then if you're buying a game, why are you offended by them appealing to me and my gender or my race or my culture, right? If I buy a role-playing book and there's an Asian person in it, I've never felt the need to go, ha, they're just pandering to Asians. I'm going like, sweet, I get to play an Asian individual in my game. I get to show a picture of it. I get to include that. Like, I've never felt the need to exclude anyone for any reason. And so for the people who have always felt included, I find it bizarre that they feel that they're being, I don't know, that they feel offended that someone else's point of view is being inserted into their games. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. So yeah, maybe I've got to. So yeah, Proo. Thanks for the input. I'm motivated now. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. So anyway, I'm gonna sign off because I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole in this. I'm gonna have to do this as a special thing. Maybe have a panel of different individuals from different points of view, different points of life. Yeah, dude. dude in the gender non-specific dudeish way. Have a great one. Thanks for popping in. Um, you may feel like you're not interacting with me as much as you'd like, but I'm really pumped for this. So look forward to it. I'm gonna put out some feelers to see if there's some people who would like to be on a panel and talk about those issues. If for no other reason than to have other people who are out there who may feel like they're marginalized and don't feel included to feel like yeah, all you haters out there, middle finger to you, F you. If you feel marginalized, contact me, post something in one of my videos, PM me, get on Facebook, find me, talk to me. I will absolutely communicate with you. If you feel hated out there, I'm the one guy who doesn't hate you for any reason. So if there's just one individual out there and you feel like you're not being included in the role playing community, reach out to me and I know I have a ton of people who would love to role play with you, would love to include you in the games and such. And if for no other reason, just to have a couple of words. So anyway, I'm DBJ, your self-appointed third pillarist. Have a very good day. Thanks, Prue.